hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, ji ayanu, khush amdeed, goeiemorgen, boona, and a very warm welcome to our show, which is called Well This Morning. Well, this was, I know, a sad introduction. Sadly, unfortunately, Shahzad is not with me today, so I am alone for you guys. This is Shahzad Hashmi with my show. Shahzad happens to be ill because he had eaten some bad stuff and he is having a stomach problem probably. But we keep telling you guys not to go out and have unhealthy food because it is only going to be a problem for you, for your family as well, and it is not harmful. If I reiterate that, do not eat outside food. Do not give it to your children, especially as well. Because, of course, keep them away from junk food. It is only because for the benefit of their own health. And I really hope Shahzad could join us, but get well soon wherever you are. And I hope you can join us in the next show, which is going to be in the morning. Well, anyways, you guys, today is Friday, finally, the favorite day of the week. Because what's next? It's weekend. But for me, weekend is not actually a great thing because I happen to work on weekends as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful, clear day outside after, continuous 2 to 3 days of rain in Islamabad and Rawalpindi. It's beautiful outside. Other than that, moving on. Today, since it's Friday, the next show we're going to have with you is going to be on Monday. And 14th of August is just around the corner. It's making me so excited. Cannot wait for the transmission. Cannot wait to share it with you guys. But for me, it's been always very important, especially in my school days, especially in my university days, for 2 reasons. One, because it's going to be a holiday all over the country, which is great. And second, for some reason, it appears to be a bonus Eid, right? Because it is very exciting. You're always, super dressed up. There's food stalls, there's everything. And especially at the place where I live, a night before, 14th August, there's fireworks, there's dinners, get-togethers, everything. The spirit in itself is amazing, you guys. Well, this was it for the beginning, but moving on with our today's show, we have 2 segments lined up for you guys, and both of them are very amazing and interesting to watch, so stay tuned. The first one is actually where we discover and explore a bit more the lucrative industry of fashion. Well, I can't say fashion is very important for girls only because it is equally important for men and women. But for me, I feel like it's important because every day, my job is of such nature. Every day I wake up in the morning, I have to get dressed, I have to look fancy, wear the perfect makeup, the perfect hair, match it with the perfect dress. And at times, I feel like I am challenged to do so. I feel like it is imperative to look good, to have at least one stylist with you who knows all the ins and outs of fashion and, who tells you what the trends are so that you can keep up with the fashion trends in the country, all across the world, and look your best. And for this very specific reason, we have been joined by 2 very amazing guests who have been on this show before. It is going to be a great conversation, and we are going to discuss with them the trends, as I've mentioned. Also, the importance of fashion schools in Pakistan and where Pakistan stands in terms of fashion, compared to other countries globally. So on my right-hand side, it's time to introduce, I have with me Miss Samara, who happens to be a fashion designer and also an assistant professor. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. It's always great coming on this show.
It's our pleasure, absolutely. And next to Miss Samara, we have Reza, who has also been on the show before, I assume. And you were a show choreographer and a show event designer as well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's start with you, Rez. When you say you're a show choreographer, I'll be honest, this was the first time I heard the term show choreographer. I have no idea what that means, but this is why Rez is here. He's going to tell us.
Well, show choreographer is basically a show director.
Okay.
It's basically the person who's putting everything together.
Yeah.
Like Samara's here, like let's say we are having a show with Samara. So we sit together,
Okay.
The designer and the choreographer, the director. We decide on the clothes lines that she's presenting.
Okay.
She is basically, let's say she has a new collection.
Yeah.
So she is planning to have a show. We'll sit together with Samara or any designer, and we will basically just choose the collection, bridal,
Yeah.
formal, or Western wear, whatever she's designed, and then we will basically design the entire event.
Okay,
So basically from the models to the hair and makeup, to the set design, to the sounds, lights, invitations,
Decor
the
and
media,
everything.
the
Okay.
decor, which model wears which clothes, the segments, everything that you see, the entire show is basically designed, it's
your
directed.
brainchild, actually.
So basically, yes, it's a teamwork generally,
Okay.
of course, because one man can't do it, you see. But the thing is that the show director is like sort of, you can say, the captain of the ship. And he then basically, the designer gives us the clothes.
Okay,
She's there, but we have to basically be in charge and just make sure that it happens.
Okay, so you've been in the fashion scene of Pakistan since almost 14 years now.
Yes, mashallah.
Okay, that's great, Masha. And Samara, you're a fashion designer as well.
Yeah.
So I have to ask both of you, for where you are today, is it imperative to study fashion? Or, since it's a myth actually in Pakistan, a lot of my friends as well tell me, and a lot of people discuss this, that if you want to be a fashion designer, it's all in your head, it's your personal style that you're implementing. You don't really need to study fashion. Is it true though? Anyone who can answer.
Well, actually, I think that looking at the fact that now Pakistan has come a very long way in the fashion industry, and we have a mushroom growth of designers, the magazines, etc., and like the fashion weeks and so many things going on. So definitely, like you can choose and pick any big name. They are the graduates of the fashion school.
Of course.
Like Samara herself, she is mashallah Samara.
Yeah, definitely. I'll totally agree with what Rez said. That definitely there's one thing that is called aesthetics.
Yeah.
That is a prime factor for any art field.
Okay.
But education is important. Why? Because this industry is now booming, and we're going towards a technical side. And since we're competing in the international market, so if you're not technically strong, so your aesthetics won't help you for long terms.
I agree with that for a reason, because when I say there are times when, there are weddings and everything, I feel like, this time I'm going to design my own dress.
Yeah.
So I do have a design in my mind, but I have no idea what is the suitable fabric.
True.
I don't know the measurements, the dimensions and everything.
How it will be possible.
Exactly.
That is where an educated designer comes in. Because designing is not just about, combining things together, but it's also about how the final product will be, whether it will go with the personality or not. So, all those things definitely depend on a designer, and it's their job to guide their client. But definitely if they have a background, they have the education, so they can, that means that their aesthetics are polished.
Okay.
So I definitely agree that fashion schools are now a prime factor, and they should be involved, and we should have more and more fashion schools so that our industry can grow.
But do you feel like there is enough availability of fashion schools in Pakistan at this moment in time?
To be honest, not.
Okay,
because,
not enough.
Yeah, if we see that we just have one big fashion school in Karachi, one in Lahore, and one in Islamabad. So there's a lot of space for these fashion schools, because now the girls are having their focus on this field also, because this field is becoming very booming, and it is a very good field for girls also. So we have a space. We should have more fashion schools, but we need to have affiliations with the with institutes that are abroad. Like in fact, like the fashion schools in Milan or in UK or in Italy, we need to have affiliations with them, because our aesthetics is a little traditional. But we have to see the outer world, so we need to get our affiliations with them so that we are on trend and we can compete in the international market.
But I'll be honest when I say, I'm sorry I have to say this, but I believe, since you've said that we should be affiliated with Milan School and everything, do you think we are at that level where we should be channeling our work in other places like that? I think you're the right person to tell me. I mean, I'm just asking because I'm not very sure of how the fashion industry or where the fashion scene is going. So do you think we are actually at the level to compete with other countries?
Definitely we are. We have pioneer designers like Nilofer Shahid, HSY, and there are gazillion more, in fact, who have been competing in the international market. And Nilofer Shahid is also, like, she has been showcasing in Paris Fashion Weeks. So, we have that thing, and definitely we can do it. It's just that we need a little push, we need a little more guidance, and there is where fashion schools come in.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rez, coming back to you. Since you're into shows and events and everything, lately there's a trend in Pakistan. You are designing a very big, huge, fat wedding, okay? People are ready to spend millions of rupees just to make the wedding look good, the event look good. Since when have the events and weddings, entered the fashion scene? Is it because the people are more aware of the whole fashion industry, or is it just because, what is it? Why is it that we're entering such a phase where we're ready to spend millions of rupees? I don't know, either it's a rip-off or not, but we're ready to spend a lot just for the wedding to look good. And it's not about clothes anymore. It's literally about the decor, it's about the flowers, about the backdrops, everything.
The best thing about when we use the word fashion, it's not just
what we wear,
towards just what you wear. It's not about clothes only.
Right.
It's about how fashionable you are, how fashionable you look.
Right.
And like you said about weddings, it's become like a trend also. Like, let's say a certain wedding has been designed by a leading wedding planner, so I guess that it's like a rat race. A lot of other people who attend it would want similar bits and pieces of the similar wedding, and maybe more grand. So I think it's all about, like you said, fashion. It's become fashionable to have glamorous weddings.
Glamorous wedding, exactly. Okay, so, since you also design weddings and fashion shows and whatnot, On a lighter note, this is not very relevant to the topic, but who do you think is the most problematic to deal with? Is it the models? Is it the designers? Is it the, I don't know, IT guys, the decor guys? Who is it?
You know, it depends event to event.
Okay.
We can't say that a certain
Group of people,
person or either models or
Yeah.
this and that.
Category,
Sometimes
yeah.
your client can be very, very irritating. You know,
Okay.
they don't understand that, you know, they've put this little crown on our head and we have to basically do a lot of work to make sure. It's all about delivery. It's all about what you're doing, what you've signed for. You have to deliver that.
Yeah.
But
Either
your client is your
sunshine
boss
or
as
rain
well.
or whatever. You
Right.
have to do it.
Right.
A lot of times, you see, and there is a hell of a responsibility attached to this kind of work.
Okay.
And, and because it's an individual they're dealing with, I mean the clients.
Yeah.
But we, being the event and the PR company and etc., we are dealing with a lot of people. So basically, but we have to take their commitments to be part of the team. So we are basically speaking on behalf of a lot of people,
Right.
which is the team. So Allah is kind. We have not had many issues
Okay.
since last 14 years. But because you see, there's like, you know, let's say that there is there's a team which is part of a show. Then one or two models have missed their flights.
Okay.
This is like a big thing because you see,
Exactly.
sometimes you can't replace them. You know,
Right,
because
right.
you
At the 11th hour especially
yes,
not.
and
Yeah.
maybe one model is a showstopper.
Yeah.
Like, you
Oh,
know, and
God.
she's missed her flight because of any reason, then we have
Right.
to make sure that she's there before the show
God.
starts. So
Well,
you
it's
know, these
such
kind of
pressure.
things. And then, Shahzad, the thing is that in Islamabad,
Yeah.
especially, there's a huge weather factor involved for hosting any kind of an event, especially if it's an outdoor event, because it's a very, very unpredictable weather.
True,
And let's say you have a set which has been made, and a lot of money is involved in this.
Of course, yes.
And then the beautiful set can come down, Khuda na khasta,
Oh
just
God,
because
imagine that.
there is this thunder or there is the bad weather, which is not
Right.
even you cannot see on the
Has this ever happened
applications
to you
also.
though?
Pardon?
Has this ever happened to you though?
Well, actually, yes. We
Okay.
had this amazing launch, which was an international coffee brand launch.
Okay, okay.
And everything was sorted, everything was done. In fact, the first few photographs were also taken the first
Okay.
hours, because usually an event is for 3 hours.
Right, okay.
So, and then suddenly there was this huge thunder
Storm. Oh,
and this
God.
crazy wind, and everything was like, you know,
Out of
just
place?
flying away. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
oh my God, this is unbelievable. This
So did you reschedule it? What happened?
no, no, but I would say thank God.
Yeah.
You know, we transferred the guests inside the
Okay,
place and
okay.
all. But the whole thing is that, you see, it is totally unpredictable. Like, we usually check, an
Right.
event is of course planned.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of
And
course.
we
It's
check
weather forecasts
everything.
and everything.
Sometimes you'll be surprised. Of course, you live in Islam, but you'll know that it just started raining.
Out
and
of
you'll
nowhere.
just check your weather app and it says sunny.
It
Yeah.
says sunny.
So
True,
it,
yes.
it is like a very, very unpredictable situation, but I would pray it should not happen again, but still.
You know, but that's the thing about experience. Since you are in the industry for 14 years now, mashallah, I have to keep saying that. So you were able to pull it off even with, you know, with the thunderstorm and everything.
Yeah,
you know,
I had to stand there and I had to make sure we get the photographs at least.
Right.
There's a term called in our field that the show must go on.
Show must,
Yes.
go.
So,
Of
you know,
course, it should
whatever
always.
happens, the show
Yeah,
must
yeah,
go
yeah.
on.
Always. But this
Yeah.
actually reminds me, you know, last night Shahzad texted me that I'm not feeling well, I won't be there. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to pull off this show. And then this actually came to my mind,
Yeah.
the show must go on, which is why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, with these amazing, amazing guests. But coming back to you, Samara, you know, Rez somehow established that your client is the boss because you're working for them, right?
Yeah.
So I read it somewhere, in fact, yesterday when I was reading about the show. It said that fashion designers want to have a critique, but it should always be positive. They do not want to have something negative said about them. Is it true?
Now, see,
How do you deal with critique?
definitely it's true that client is always right, and I like the term that the client is the boss. So yeah, you have, by the end of the day, you have to listen to your client. But yes, since, you know, a designer is designing something that is his creativity, his
Right.
her mind, his her mind or his her creativity. So definitely they want it to be perfect, and since it's their imagination, so
Right.
for their world it's amazing. So, you know, they cannot accept the negative comments or they cannot accept the critique. That's you know, that's a basic thing.
Okay.
And definitely if somebody will say, what have you designed, and I don't like it, definitely I'll get offended, because I've spent millions of, you know,
Your
of my
working
time
hours, exactly.
and my money and the
Right.
labor, everything, you know, so I've spent time on it. So by the end of the day, if I get to hear this, definitely I'll be disappointed.
Of course. So, but has this happened to you that, okay, let's say I'm giving you a situation. For example, it was me that I was getting a dress designed for my wedding or for someone's wedding that I had to wear. And after you've done it, after the, oh so long hours that you've put into it, I come to you, this does not suit me. This does not compliment me anymore. I don't want it. What do you then?
Okay, in our case, what we do that we take client at every step.
Okay.
We call them at every point so that they're in the loop.
Okay.
They know what's happening.
Right.
It's never like we show them the end thing and they're like, oh, what's this? So in our case, alhamdulillah, it has not happened.
Okay.
So when they're through the process, so they know what's going on, we take them to trial and error. There's fittings. They see the work on the frame.
Right.
They see it when the fabric is dyed and when the work is on the frame. So at every point they're with us.
Okay.
So I don't think so that in this past 8 years I've experienced that they'll say that, oh, what is this?
But that's great.
So
that's probably because
in
of
our
the work
case,
you
it's
put
not
in.
like that.
Okay.
Since we're showing them at every point. So if they don't like anything, they'll tell us then and
At
there,
that
and we
point
can
in
fix
time.
it.
Right.
So
right.
so that is the key to to face such kind of disasters. Because
Right.
yes, these things do happen because it's a natural thing.
Of course, yes.
So, but I think that you should take your client along so that you don't face that thing in the end.
Okay, coming back to you, Rez, when you say fashion shows, I'm very much into fashion shows, although I have to say I've never attended one, I've never been a part of one though. But what, over the period of time, have you identified what some of the important elements are for the successful implementation of a show? Not particularly fashion show, of any event. Is it the media? Is it the, bloggers lately, they're in the scene, right? What is it?
I think, you see, the thing is that it is always to put together the entire show, one has to have a very good team.
Okay.
And when you're talking about the bloggers and the media and everything, they are definitely part of any good event happening. Either it's a fashion show, it's a product launch, it's a launch, it's a red carpet, etc., whatever.
Right.
And what we do is we have, of course, a team that works with us. And then secondly, we have sort of the list of media friends, the channels which send their teams to cover the event. We have the top 10, top 20 blogger friends who come and cover the event. And then we have the top glossies, their representatives, and the photographers. They cover the events. So basically, it's entire. You see, it's like these 10 fingers.
Right,
we have to
all
have
together.
all together. We have to have the entire team. We have to have the entire setup. We have to have the entire 9 yards put together to basically have a good show. So you remove one thing out of them, the show will not be as perfect as it would be with everybody together in it.
Okay, so that makes sense. But right before the show, when I was in conversation with Mr. Rez, we sort of established the fact that at this point in time, the general public in Pakistan is very much aware, if we talk about in regards to fashion. And we identify that it is probably because of Instagram or because of the other apps. It is because of the existence of social media. But that also brings us to the fact that, a lot of people are doing the same fashion all over the world. So since we are on the same page, at some point, we are on the same page with other countries, but does that mean that globalization is killing the individuality of Pakistan's fashion, its culture?
I don't think so. You see, Pakistani culture, like Samara also said, we have designers in Pakistan which are designing Western wear and Eastern wear both.
Yeah, of course.
And as far as weddings are concerned and the daily evening wear and etc. for, let's say, a girl, and definitely she would wear an Eastern dress for a wedding, a dholki, a mehndi, etc. And for that, one has to go to a designer, and it's a very tailor-made. And with trials and etc. Like Samara was mentioning, like we have a huge growth of fashion over the last 10, 15 years. Like let's say if a certain person, a guy or a girl, whoever goes to a mall just to get something, there is market for everybody.
Right.
There's a market for the people who are interested in Western wear. There is a market for people who are interested, like I'm wearing this.
In the spirit of Friday.
Yes, in spirit of Friday. So there is, you'll be amazed that I'm sure you also know that I feel so good basically that being a Pakistani, and that made in Pakistan tag is improved so much.
Of course, yes.
A lot of us, we don't need to buy clothes from abroad anymore.
Yeah. Makes, of course,
you're
right.
And it makes me very, very proud, actually, to be like a proud Pakistani,
of course.
wearing Pakistani clothes.
We're all proud Pakistanis. But, coming back to you, Ms. Samara, since we're talking about, fashion in particular with you, clothings as well, So how imperative are fashion magazines or fashion weeks that are, established through the designers and everything? How important are they to improve the fashion scene in Pakistan? Or to, let's say, make the public more aware about it?
As Rez said, that all these factors are pillars, right?
Okay.
So definitely a fashion show, a fashion magazine, a fashion shoot, a fashion designer, then clothes according to the trends, and then looking at whether it's a wedding season or it's a lawn season, all these factors are involved. A stylist, then what celebrity you're picking, what kind of branding you're doing for your shoot, what kind of clientele you're targeting. So definitely everything is connected. It's not one man show.
Okay.
It's a teamwork. So all these things, they come around. And once you're done with the shoot, you need these bloggers, you need these social pages to promote you.
Right.
So, and definitely the setups like this, you need these kind of, platforms where you can promote your fashion. So fashion magazines, fashion shoots, they all work hand in hand.
And let's talk about fashion weeks. It also gives a platform to the new designers who want to challenge their their work. Is it beneficial for them, or has fashion weeks have they been beneficial for you in any case?
Definitely, fashion week or a fashion show is the basic platform for any designer. Since you're making a collection, you need to have a platform where you can showcase it.
Okay.
And definitely those are fashion weeks, or you do your solo shows.
Right.
So since we have these few fashion weeks, Lahore Fashion Week and Karachi Fashion Week, and they have a proper segment where they promote the upcoming designers.
Okay.
Since when you're starting a business, you don't have that kind of maybe the experience, or you don't have that kind of
expertise.
So these kind of platforms give a boost to these kind of designers.
Okay.
So definitely these fashion shows, they play a very vital role in making your career, especially for young designers.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. But being a Pakistani, whenever we talk about something, there's this one particular sentence that we always say, that this is where government should come in. Government should play the role in it. So I was talking to you about it, but let's tell it to the people. Do you think that in improving the fashion industry in Pakistan, is there a role that government should be playing in it?
Definitely.
Okay.
And these days, definitely, because Pakistani fashion has come a long way.
Yeah.
Like we have the fashion school in Lahore, which is definitely a government property.
Okay.
And then we want, actually, we should have more and more government-sponsored institutions which are promoting fashion education in many forms, basically. Like, Samara also said that, there should be more and more universities, more schools. So there is a huge amount of talent outside. People who actually want to actually be part of this industry.
Right.
But they don't know how to be part of this industry. But it is definitely very, very important that a fashion designer should study fashion and then be a fashion designer.
Okay.
And it will go a long way, because it's like it's like the root of a tree, basically. So basically, I think it's very, very important to have institutions and sponsored and helped by the state.
Okay, this is something that I have to say. I'm sorry that I have to say it. I apologize, because this is not my personal opinion, but a lot of people say it. So since we've already talked about it, that a person's, especially a person like me as well, we believe that, why do I need to hire a fashion designer when I can do my own dress? A lot of people believe that fashion designers are a rip-off. Is this true?
Again, every designer has their own taste,
Okay.
right? They have their own capabilities, or they have their own, way of dealing a client, or they have their own charges, So I don't think so, because, since, as I said earlier, we spend so much time, in creating something,
right,
and
exactly.
once it's an exclusive or customized thing, so we sit with the client, we analyze the client, we listen to their priorities, and then we give our input. So we're spending our time, we're spending our energy, we're spending our aesthetics on it.
Right.
So definitely all these things matter. And that's why where a designer is different from a tailor, because a tailor just knows how to cut and stitch,
right.
but he doesn't know the background story or the main reason behind that concept,
Right.
or whether that concept will go with that person or not.
Okay.
So
okay, that makes sense. So you're saying that it's actually all worth it that we're spending with a fashion designer.
definitely.
Okay, but quickly before we wrap up the segment, we're having a great time, but we're short on time. Can we just, get run over with the trends, the quick summer trends in this year in Pakistan?
I would say everything is in.
Everything is.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you. Let me be more specific. Long shirts or short shirts?
In a way, starting from your crop tops to your peplum tops to
Okay.
your long shirts, everything
Everything
is there.
is in, okay.
And if you talk about the lowers, so definitely from your shalwar to your patiala shalwar to your straight pants, bell bottom, everything
also,
is
I'm
there.
loving this era of fashion because whatever you wear at this point in time is fashion. Is it true?
You just have to carry it well.
Yes, definitely.
And it all
That's the
depends
main
on who's
thing.
wearing also, because you know, fashion and what you wear, the trends and everything, it matters who's wearing it.
Who's wearing,
something might suit a certain person, but the same thing would not suit maybe the other person. So
That is
basically
true.
it's what you have to identify, what suits you, what color suits you,
Yeah.
what cut suits you,
Right,
and
right. What
then
fittings and everything.
you're there, you know,
Oh, you know, this
basically.
has happened with me a lot of times that I personally love wearing a sari. I mean, it is so classic. I think you do as well.
Yeah.
But it does not suit me for, for some reason. I have no idea why, but it is not.
Few things are myths and your misconceptions.
Okay.
If you think that something doesn't suit you, you have to try it first.
I have tried it and
okay.
tried and tested.
But
anyway,
then you have to ask the right people.
That's true.
You know,
that's true.
something that
this is where the
in-
fashion designers come in, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
something which is in your head and you start believing it. So
Okay.
I believe the same thing, that sari doesn't suit me. But a lot of people tell me, no, you're the perfect,
Really? Okay.
you should carry it.
I can't
but again,
imagine
it's
you
in my
looking
head.
bad in it. Okay. But okay, quickly
see?
before we wrap up, is it like long hair or short hair? Quickly. Rapid fire.
As I told earlier, everything is in.
Okay,
it's
colored
again,
or
as
natural?
As Rez said, that what suits you, you should go with that.
Okay.
And since, again, coming back to color, since, we have a lot of these brands which are actually pushing us to, get our hair
Yeah,
dye.
true.
So, everyone is are trying different types of colors, hair dyes, and which is a good thing because change is always good.
Change is always good. Yes, that's true. But thank you so much for being on our show, Mr.
Thank you
Rez and Ms.
so much for
Samara.
having us
It's
over.
always a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have you guys on the show. We were talking about fashion trends, summer tips, and where we stand in terms of, Pakistan's position in the fashion is seen in the world. It's a time now to take a short break. We'll be right back with another segment, so stay tuned to World This Morning. Good morning. Welcome back to World This Morning. Hope you're having a good morning. I am, although, yes, of course, the whole team, Mrs. Shahzad. But have a blissful Friday. And if you're going for the Friday prayers, do not forget me and Shahzad specifically and the whole team in your prayers. So in the first segment, we were talking about the fashion industry in Pakistan and how the emerging fashion trends are in Pakistan, the summer trends and tips by a very, exciting fashion designer who was at the show, who was a very well speaker as well. But this segment especially is very different in terms of what it was in the first one. Let's talk about how Pakistan is very rich in natural resources. We always talk about that. There's natural gas, there's oil, there's everything. But in terms of wildlife as well, there are so many species that exist in Pakistan that I know of. And to be honest, so many other species that I don't know of. And for this particular reason, a very special and important person from Gilgit, Baltistan has traveled all the way to our show to speak to us about it. And he happens to be a wildlife conservator. Thank you so much for being on our show, Mr. Yaqub Ali Khan. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yes, I am fine.
And how was your way all the way from Gilgit, Baltistan to Islamabad? Thank you for being here for us, especially
Thank you
on
very
the show.
much.
Now, you happen to be a wildlife conservator. First of all, what does that mean?
Yeah, the conservator means the conservation of natural resources, and he's responsible to protect and conserve the natural resources like forests, like wildlife, like water regime, everything.
Okay, so you work for Gilgit-Baltistan Wildlife National Park, is it true?
Yes.
Okay, so there are basically two main functions of this. There's conservation and there's protection as well.
Yes.
So you're doing both of them?
Yes.
Okay, and you work for the forest department, am I right?
Yes, I am working for the forest department as well as for the wildlife department.
Okay, so there's a very hard and fast rule in different parts of Pakistan, especially in Gilgit-Baltistan, where you're not allowed to hunt the animals. That is because they're trying to conserve them, preserve them, save them from going extinct, and also protecting them in a habitat where they can be true to themselves and enjoy the life that they've been given. And this is also because of an act which is called the GB Preservation Act 1975. Is it true?
It is true, yeah. Gilgit-Baltistan Wildlife Preservation Act 1975.
Okay, what is it about? Can you just tell us a bit about it?
Yes, through this act, through this law, we are protecting and conserving the natural resources, especially the wildlife in Gilgit-Baltistan.
Okay. Okay, so when you say wildlife in Gilgit-Baltistan, it's funny because Shahzad and I always discuss how we've never been to the north sides of Pakistan. It's because we don't get a day off. So I personally do not know what sort of species or what wildlife exists in Gilgit-Baltistan. So can you just, run me and my viewers over with the idea of what sort of animals are we expecting in that area?
Yes, sure. Gilgit-Baltistan falls in dry temperate climatic zone.
Okay.
And it bears very special wildlife species that are very specific and specialized to that area.
Okay.
God Almighty has gifted with plenty of wildlife species, especially in Gilgit-Baltistan, like Astor markhor,
Okay.
like Himalayan ibex, Marco Polo sheep, musk deer, snow leopard, brown bear, black bear, lynx, stone marten,
Wow.
etc., etc.
Okay, so when you say markhor happens to be the national animal of Pakistan as well.
Yes.
So is it only in Gilgit-Baltistan where you're preserving and protecting them, or are you also transferring them to different areas in other cities probably?
Actually, markhor is our, yes, you are true, and you have well said that markhor is our national animal.
Yeah.
But it has different species.
Okay.
So the species that in Gilgit-Baltistan, that is Astor markhor.
Okay.
So Astor markhor usually lives on moderate temperature
Okay.
at lower altitudes. During winters, it descended to lower altitudes and feeds on grasses. And this is very rare animal. This is we are going to sell it in international markets during our hunting season. So I'm pleased to tell you that in the, during last hunting season, this animal sold out for $100,000
Oh wow! Okay,
in open
that is
market.
brilliant. Wow, that's brilliant.
So yes, through this program, we give incentives the rural communities of the Gilgit-Baltistan, and maximum profit, maximum share we used to give to the people of Gilgit-Baltistan.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Yaqub, I have to cut you, but you said the hunting season.
Yes.
What is the hunting season?
Yes.
So in other seasons of the year, the hunting is not legal, but in that it is.
Yes, yes. Under the provisions of Gilgit-Baltistan Wildlife Preservation Act, we have started trophy hunting of wildlife in Gilgit-Baltistan since 1993.
Okay.
So we offer 3 species of wildlife for trophy hunting. As I said, Astor markhor, Himalayan ibex, and blue sheep.
Okay.
These 3 species we offered in international market, and breeding process is going to be done from October, and trophy hunting season starts from October to end of April.
So when you say it's the hunting season, so all the animals that come in that wildlife park are open to legal hunting, or is there a certain quota that is open to hunting?
Yes, there is certain quota.
Okay.
Because we usually offer trophy hunting permits for the old animals that are able to harvest. We are harvesting those animals which became old and their natural death is certain. So we offer to international hunters.
Yeah.
You know, this is some sort of hobby as well.
Okay, okay.
So from this program, we yield the revenue for our country and for as Gilgit Baltistan as well. I would like to explain here that on the other way, we promoting the winter tourism as well
Oh,
in
yes,
Gilgit
of
Baltistan.
course, winter tourism.
So the foreigners used to come to Pakistan.
In summer
and
usually, right? They usually
yes.
come in summer, but this time you're promoting winter tourism.
Winter
especially.
tourism,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes, yes. Through this program, we promoting the winter tourism. The foreigners and nationals used to come to Gilgit Baltistan during winters and investing their funds
Right.
in wildlife conservancy. And on the other way, you know, many people involved in this industry. So many people get benefit from this program.
They're also being employed, right? The locals of Gilgit-Baltistan from this program, the employment level is getting high, right?
Yes, you are true.
Okay, so when you're talking about tourism, Gilgit-Baltistan happens to have a very high factor of tourism because obviously it is so beautiful, one of the most beautiful places of Pakistan. So a lot of tourists, including Pakistan and from abroad, other countries as well, go to Gilgit. So can we say that the wildlife of Gilgit-Baltistan is more prone to being attacked or being violated by tourists as it is to the native people of there?
Yes, the wildlife Gilgit-Baltistan, you know, this is natural resource.
Yeah.
Due to this natural resource, the people attracting and used to come during winters, as I said.
Yes.
So national tourists as well as international tourists, foreigners, used to come to Gilgit-Baltistan to see the wildlife, to enjoy with the wildlife, the beauty of wildlife that exists in the mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, since of all the species you've mentioned, I cannot forget you've also mentioned snow leopard. Yeah. And if I'm right, it is also an endangered species as well, you know. So when you say that you're into conservation, you're into protection, you're providing the animals with a habitat, you're providing them with food, a free space to move and everything. But are you also into breeding them so that you can, you know, maybe take care of the endangered species like
Yes.
snow leopard as we've mentioned?
Well said, well said. Yeah, we have no any captivity or no any cages. We offer this, you know, national parks and in natural sanctuaries and natural reservoirs. So the process of breeding is continuously going on in their natural states.
Right.
So there is no artificial system that we have developed, but all the process is going on in natural in natural environment and in natural habitats.
Okay, okay.
So you well said that the snow leopard is very endangered and threatened animal. Yes, of course. This animal has been kept in category 1 of CITES. CITES Appendix 1 animal.
Okay.
So we are protecting this. This is also our tradition, and this is our legacy, snow leopard. So we have in our future plans, we are going to bring one important project for conservation of this unique and attractive wildlife species.
Snow leopard in
snow
particular.
leopard, yeah, snow leopard. So its habitat improvement and its development of its ecosystem.
Okay.
So we are bringing one project, important project, through which we can able to manage this animal in better way.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. But Mr. Yaqub, I have to ask you at this point in time, how long have you been working for this with the wildlife?
Yes, I am working with Wildlife Department for the last 10 years, but as a whole, as you know, we are the foresters, and I am working, I have been attached with Forest and Wildlife Department for the last 25 years.
Okay, so in those 25...
But yes, 25 years. But as far as my working with Wildlife Department is concerned, I am attached with Wildlife Department for the last 10 years.
Okay, so since you've been, you know, attached with them for the last 10 years, I quickly have to ask you this before we wrap up. I'm sure you have had, on daily basis, in fact, you know, up-close encounters with the wildlife. Is there any dangerous encounter you ever had with one of them?
Not yet.
Okay.
Because wildlife is, I will tell you that wildlife is, shy animals.
Okay.
So they used
They don't
to,
look shy, to be honest. They're so
yeah,
scary, if you look at them.
They used to live in their own ecosystems and their own habitats.
Okay.
So until and unless, you disturb their habitat, until and unless you disturb their ecosystem, they will not attack.
Okay.
So in my practical life, I haven't been any such dangerous encounter with wildlife.
Okay, okay. But I'm sorry, Mr. Yaqub, I have to cut you here because we're short on time. It was brilliant having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us about all this. To be honest, I was not aware of all these things. This was Mr. Yaqub from Gilgit, Baltistan Wildlife National Park, and he was talking about conservation and protection of the wildlife resources that we have in Pakistan. Well, this was it for today, ladies and gentlemen. But if you do have any queries or feedback, write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, we are with the name of World This Morning without a G. On YouTube and Daily Motion, World This Morning, and the repeat is going to be at 11:05 in the night. Till then, take care, please stay safe for yourself and do not eat unhealthy and outside food. Take care, good morning.